Weird this year. Like, the vibes were off. I still had fun, but the vibes were not what they usually are. Like, I've never really understood when people are like, oh my god, like, it's overhyped. I feel like it's not hyped enough. I was like so excited to be there, dancing my ass off the whole time. The vibes were off. There was something weird about like the energy, like, that I've never really like felt before. I know people always talk shit about weekend one, being like, weekend one sucks, that's just like the influencer Olympics, whatever. I have never felt that more than this time. This is like my ninth Coachella. I've never felt that before. It was so packed. There were so many people. Nobody even, it seemed like people were just there just to be there. Obviously for the Justin set, obviously, but like even for other sets as well, like everybody was just standing around. I was like, what is going on? Like, do you guys not want to be here? Like, don't take up space.
We walk in and immediately I felt a vibe. I didn't like it. It was weird, people scrambling everywhere.
I waited 3 years to get into Coachella artist section, and it was nothing like I thought that it would be. At the time, I was like, yes, I got to see Justin Bieber in artist, like, yeah. But did I? It was literally packed to the point you could not see Justin Bieber in there. And that would have been fine if the people around me were like having a good time and we're all vibing and dancing. But no. I think transparently there is something so tea about being like, yeah, like Cat's Eye was there and JT was there and this person was there. But then I'm like, wait, but did I have fun? Did I have fun? And the truth is, I think I had more fun with the campers in GA. 3 years, like, really in my mind being like, no, I need this. And when I was in there, I genuinely was asking people, I was like, is this artist? It was packed. Nobody was having fun. No, everybody's stuck. It felt like when you're in the club in a booth and everybody has the glasses on and you just want to go to the dance floor and dance.
This year's Coachella was by far.
What if the biggest thing people are talking about after Coachella this year isn't a performance, a celebrity, or even a moment on stage, but the feeling people can't stop describing instead? Because depending on who you ask, this year wasn't just another Coachella. It was something different, something louder, more chaotic, and strangely more disconnected than ever before. And the wild part? Almost nobody is saying it in the same way, but everyone is feeling it. So, what actually changed? And why are so many people saying the same thing without even realizing it? Let's break it down. At first, everything looked normal. Same desert, same stages, same crowds pouring in from all over the world. But according to people who've been multiple times, something didn't line up this year. Not in an obvious way, but in a way you could feel immediately once you were inside. Overcrowding, confusion, people moving without direction, energy that didn't settle into anything consistent. Even seasoned festival goers, people who've literally built their whole identity around Coachella weekends, were saying the same thing. It didn't feel like it used to. And that's where things get strange. Because festivals are supposed to evolve, right? But this didn't feel like evolution. It felt like overload. Too many people, too many expectations, too many separate reasons for being there in the first place. And that mismatch, it changed everything. But the deeper question is, why did it happen this year more than others? Because that's where the real shift begins. One of the biggest talking points this year was the ripple effect of Justin Bieber's presence, not because of one single performance, but because of what it represented. A moment like that pulls a certain kind of crowd, people who aren't necessarily there for the full experience, but for that moment, that clip, that memory to post later. And when that happens at scale, something subtle breaks. You don't just get music fans anymore. You get spectators. And spectators don't always behave like fans. They don't always engage. They don't always connect. Sometimes they just stand there waiting for the moment they came for. That's what a lot of attendees started noticing. Crowds packed into spaces not because they were immersed in the music, but because they were waiting for something specific to happen. And when that doesn't happen fast enough, the energy drops. Fast. Even artists reportedly felt it, performing to crowds that were physically there, but mentally somewhere else. And that creates a weird disconnect. Because Coachella has always been about shared energy, but this year, that energy felt split in 100 directions. And while everyone was focused on who might appear next, something else was building behind the scenes. Something a lot less glamorous. Outside the music, another reality was unfolding. And this one hit almost everyone in some way. transportation issues, long waits. Surge pricing that made simple movement feel like a luxury. People stuck for hours trying to get rides, lines stretching further than usual, basic festival logistics turning into endurance tests. And then there was the money side of things. Food prices that felt inflated even by festival standards. Services marked up beyond what many expected. Everything just more expensive than people remembered. But the most uncomfortable part? The scam stories. People getting burned on tickets, payments, last-minute deals that vanished the moment money changed hands. Even experienced festival attendees, people who normally know how to navigate this world, were saying they got caught off guard. And once those stories started spreading, the tone online shifted. Because it wasn't just about inconvenience anymore. It was about trust breaking down in real time. And that's when something interesting happened. The conversation stopped being about headliners and started becoming about experience itself. While all of that was happening in the background, something unexpected started taking over social media. Not polished influencer content, not celebrity clips, but raw, unfiltered festival life. Camp setups, dust-covered phones, real-time reactions from people just trying to survive the weekend. And those videos started outperforming everything else. Why? Because they felt real. No branding. No curated angles. No forced perfection. Just people showing exactly what was happening in the moment. And in contrast, a lot of influencer content started to feel distant, too staged, too polished, too aware of the camera. That contrast became impossible to ignore. Even non-influencers started going viral simply for being honest about their experience. And in a twist nobody expected, that authenticity sometimes led to real opportunities afterward. Brand deals, invites, collaborations. Almost like the internet collectively decided, this is the version we actually trust. And that shift created a new tension. Because suddenly Coachella wasn't just about being there. It was about how real your experience looked while you were there. And that pressure changes how people behave, which leads into something even deeper. One of the most repeated observations this year wasn't about crowds or prices. It was about presence, or more specifically, the lack of it. People standing still during sets, phones up instead of hands in the air, moments happening in front of them that weren't fully being lived. And this wasn't just random behavior, it was a pattern. Because when an event becomes as much about capturing content as experiencing it, something shifts psychologically. You're no longer fully inside the moment, you're partially documenting it. And that split changes everything. Some attendees even said it felt like people were more focused on how they looked being there than actually being there. And when that mindset spreads through thousands of people at once, the atmosphere changes. Music that should feel collective starts feeling isolated. Crowds that should feel unified start feeling fragmented. And even conversations between strangers become harder to find. Because everyone is half present somewhere else. But then came Weekend 2. And that's where the contrast got even more obvious. Traditionally, Weekend 2 has always had a different reputation. Less chaos, fewer influencers, more space for people who are genuinely there for the music. And this year, that pattern still showed up, but with a twist. Some people said it felt calmer, more grounded, more focused on the actual performances, but others pointed out that even Weekend 2 wasn't immune to the overall shift happening at the festival. The scale had changed, the attention had changed, even the expectations had changed. And on top of that, influencer culture didn't disappear. It just moved differently. Some creators shifted into brand experiences. Others documented more authentic moments and gained even more traction online. One of the most talked about examples was a camper who went viral simply for showing their real setup and experience, later getting invited into a brand-sponsored festival experience. And that created a clear divide, because suddenly, Coachella wasn't just one event. It was multiple parallel versions of the same event, luxury experiences on one side, raw survival camping on the other, and everything in between trying to define what real Coachella actually means now. But the deeper question is still hanging. Where is all of this heading? When you zoom out, Coachella this year starts to look less like a music festival and more like a reflection of something bigger. A culture where experience is currency, where visibility matters as much as participation, and where the cost of being there isn't just financial, it's social, digital, and emotional. Some people spent massive amounts of money to maximize comfort, access, and visibility. Others went minimal and tried to experience it as purely as possible, and both sides walked away with completely different stories. But what connects them is the same underlying question: has the festival changed, or has the way we experience everything changed? Because Coachella might just be the clearest example of a bigger shift happening everywhere, where moments aren't just lived anymore, they're performed, recorded, and interpreted in real time by millions of people online. And that raises a strange possibility. Maybe the off feeling people described this year wasn't just about the festival at all. Maybe it's about the way we all experience events now. So when people say Coachella felt different this year, they're not just talking about crowds, prices, or performances. They're describing a bigger shift in how the entire experience works. More crowded, more expensive, more divided, but also more visible than ever. And that leaves one final question hanging in the air. Is Coachella still a music festival at its core? Or has it become something completely different that we're only starting to understand? Because depending on how you answer that, this year might not have been an exception. It might have been the beginning of a new normal.